Good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
There's
everybody.
Alex. Oh, I guess your camera's still screwed up. All right, that's all right. You configured it didn't work out with the camera flip?
Oh, it did.
Oh, you did? Not on my end. Every camera is crooked. It's the wrong position, but it is what it is. I guess we'll live with
Well,
it.
let me retry then.
Okay. Maybe this way. Good afternoon, everybody. So as you guys can see, those of you in a replay, since we don't have any viewers just yet, we're just gonna wait till everybody pile in. Normally we play a little music, kind of get in the mood. Let's see if Alex can get with us here. Let's see, is he all? Yeah, you're good on my end. Alex will be joining us in a moment. He's got a cool story for you guys. I have a story for you guys prepared that I wanted to talk about, and also, open up the floor for you guys to give us a call and stream in. Lord Kevin, you are never early, sir. You are on time. Hello, sir. Hope you're will be good and doing safe. That's from Pack ABYT. Thank you very, very much, sir. Philip Thompson in. Well, hello, and Michael Proctor. Thank you guys so much. It's so cool to see everybody in there. Alex, how are things coming along? Are you able to jump in? Do you have good luck there on that end? So Alex will be joining us. He's having a little bit of technical issues, but we got a couple of things I want to talk with you guys about today. There's been a major prevalence of, I'm going to switch over this way, major prevalence of all sorts of scammy behaviors, all sorts of bad behavior from brokers, and we've been seeing more and more of that. We've actually ran into, I'm going to fix this, it's going to bother me. There we go. So there's a lot of bad behavior from brokers, a lot of, unpaid freight, if we want to put it that way. And we want to make sure you guys avoid all the stuff. That makes sense. So Pack for Pakistan, ABYT for YouTube. That makes sense. Hey, good to have you. This is awesome. Actually, a lot of our traffic on our website comes from Pakistan. So that'll be interesting to see you guys in a video. That's awesome. Let me see. I think Alex is messaging me here. Let's see if it works. Well, Alex, let's give it a shot. Let's see. Crossing my fingers. All right, pop in. You are all good on my end. You just need to turn on your camera, I think, and or maybe I need to get in my settings and show on stream.
My
there we
camera's
go.
turned on.
Boom. Here we are. Looking good, my friend. Here you are. Yeah, with the now familiar screen. Maybe other guys haven't really seen a lot of our videos. We've been focusing a lot on shorts. We're going to be producing a lot more shorts. I'm going to be playing the bad guy. Alex is going to be playing the good guy, and then occasionally, hopefully, he'll allow me to switch roles, and maybe I can be the good guy once in a while. But I play a good bad guy.
Better for the bad guy role.
Yeah, we'll make Kevin the bad guy. We'll make Kevin the bad guy. He plays a good bad guy. That's awesome. Very cool stuff. So how are you, man? How's your weekend? How's everybody doing?
I'm pretty good. We did a little bit of yesterday. Cooked all day. I did some nice swordfish.
Swordfish.
Yeah.
That is good. Very good stuff. Yeah. Hopefully our guys are able to take some time off and, not necessarily drive, but I know that a lot of the guys that are finding this video are going to be over the road listening to this as a podcast, so hopefully we can bring some value to that. Oh, there he is. Look at that. He switched cameras. So, just on the fly. So fancy. Very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, same here.
I'm looking at a PC, so I can switch.
Oh, you got it open over there? Awesome. Yeah, I kind of worked through the whole weekend, and then this afternoon I woke up late because I was staying up last night, and decided, you know what, I'm gonna go grab a coffee and just treat myself to a coffee and kind of hang out. But then that's why I'm late. And Alex was messaging me, kind of telling me, "Hey, man, don't be late today." But I had to do that, so I got took some notes at the coffee shop for one story that I normally wouldn't cover, but this was just too interesting not to cover, and it randomly ended up being very complimentary to what Alex has to present to you guys. We didn't plan this. This is just, I want to pat myself on the back and just say, great minds think alike, and also pat Alex on his back because we didn't plan this, but we're going to talk about scam artists in the trucking industry, bad actors. We've made videos about this. We've have a video in the past. I'll dig it up. It's an older one, but we're seeing more and more of this stuff popping up nowadays. And I think Alex wasn't that kind of what you wanted to talk about with Amazon?
I mean, yeah, I actually have a story of a gentleman that was supposed to call in tonight, but he went in a vacation and he wanted to join, but I say, hey man, you're in a vacation, enjoy your vacation. I'll present your whole story, and next weekend you can tell us like your side with a little bit more details and a more personal take.
Absolutely. But I mean, I think you'll be able to cover some of that today, or unless you had a different story.
Yes, yes, yes. I will cover most of his story.
Hmm.
I'll explain a little bit and I'll give some tips to people of how to avoid that kind of thing. And he's gonna share next week his side like properly on the personal view.
Okay, very cool. I welcome that. I think that would be really fantastic. And everybody in the chat, everyone who watches these videos, you guys are more than welcome to give us a call when we do these lives. It's a lot of fun. Tell stories. So along the kind of the theme of what we're talking about today, I'm sure a lot of you guys have hit some of these barriers where you've ran a load, it fell through on a payment, and you got burnt. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. One in particular, I'll kind of kick this off, and we'll let Alex jump in right after. Unless you want to go first, either way's fine.
I mean, I will go first because
Go
today I
for it.
have to leave a little bit earlier if that's
Okay,
okay for you.
that's fair. Yeah, I think we'll have a shorter story anyway, unless we have call in. So jump in, man. That'll be awesome.
I mean, mine is slightly longer, so.
Go for it. I'll
All
mute
right,
myself.
so to present this long story short, Monday, a gentleman called Khaled, I hope he's watching. If he does, hey buddy. Yeah, he called me Monday and he explained me a little bit that basically he called us because he's one of our very veteran subscribers. He watches us for a really, really long time and he didn't know who else to ask, so he asked us. Basically, he's a trucker with a lot of experience. His MC is very old, he's a little bit over 10 years old. So he's not some rookie. It's not his first day in the market or something like that. And he simply got screwed pretty badly. And I'll explain you a little bit. In the meanwhile, Vitaly, I'll forward you an email so you can show it to people.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, send that over. Yeah, there's we've had that. Was it last year? I think it was. Yeah, it was last year where we had. Let me get rid of the screen here. Issues with Amazon freight. We've had some other brokers, but Amazon's been an interesting one because there are certain specific warehouses and a lot of them that are so incredibly automated that if you actually do deliver a load that is a scam load that you find out, you're not going to have anyone to talk about, and the documents are going to come through on a digital, on a digital side. You're not going to have anything in hand. Now, the customer that Alex is talking about had a different story.
That's also the case. No,
Yeah.
that's also the case. But Mr. Collins was really, really smart. Um, because by the time he delivered, the broker was not answering, and he didn't left the place yet after he sent the POD. And he went to the guy. He said, "Hey guys, can I have a picture of the BOL so I can show it to the broker?" He was smart about it. He managed to get a picture of the BOL, and actually now has a solid proof,
Hmm.
which is very, very good. Um, but to make it long story short, basically he wanted to book a load. This was
Hello,
on
James.
the 4th of this month. We had to pick up a trade from Amazon to Amazon. It was a load.
Hmm.
Let me come picture it real quick. From Braselton, Georgia to Texas to I think it's Fort Worth, Texas. Yeah, Dallas Fort Worth Airport, Texas. Basically, and he got paid really, really good. We're talking about $2,300 for that line, especially on power only. It's really, really good.
Oh yeah. And sometimes
Yeah,
that's the thing that you have to kind of investigate. Like, why is it
yeah.
paying so
When you
well?
see a low pay is a little bit too good to be true,
Hmm.
uh, check what's sketchy about it. And the thing is like this, and I mean, the Mister didn't oh, the load was posted from properly from Amazon Relay. It was posted from them on AT. The thing is, he didn't notice when the return came. The basically the email was not an Amazon email, and the broker was not also an Amazon. It's not an Amazon broker. It's called Transpro Logistics.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that this company is not necessarily the culprit. Could be also one of the victims of this scammer. because it's definitely something fishy there. However, this gentleman, what happened is basically someone booked that load from Amazon. They rebooked it under a fake Raycon that doesn't go for anything. To our gentleman, our gentleman did the load, delivered the load, and he sent the proof of delivery. And he was just waiting for a revised Raycon because it took much longer to deliver, and they switched the warehouse at the delivery. So it was a little bit of a sketchy side even during the delivery. After that,
Hmm.
he tried to reach for a broker for a revised Raycon for the extra. They promised him. There is even on that email, if you see in the pictures,
The
if you
discrepancy in
can
the email
open.
address, in the delivery address, right?
No, there are a couple of pictures with the text.
Oh, okay. So I don't have
If you
those.
can go through it, so we can show a little bit to the people properly what he was talking with the broker.
Yeah, I don't have the pictures. I just have the email thread. That's what I have. But basically, from what I'm seeing, and correct me if I'm wrong, our customer, the trucker in this case, was contracted by a broker about an Amazon load, right? And
Technically,
technically, right. So we'll kind of unravel this, but this is kind of my understanding of the email you sent in a response from, because it was an Amazon run. So they agreed on a rate, and then our customer, the trucker, picked up the trailer from an Amazon facility. Correct so far?
correct. But the load was posted from Amazon Relay.
From Amazon Relay, right? It was off of their load board, right? Their internal load board,
No,
Amazon.
no, it was posted on DAT from Amazon Relay's account.
Okay, so it wasn't on Amazon Relay then. So it wasn't a direct ship from picking up the contract directly from Amazon Relay, getting a rate count from them.
Technically, he should have gotten a Raycon from them. He didn't notice that it wasn't a
It
Raycon
wasn't
from them. He thought it
exactly.
was normal,
Yeah.
and this is what happened basically.
Well, and then during the transit, and that's another area you have to be really careful. One of the deals that our dispatchers caught on, where it was a scammy deal, was actually when they noticed they were just experienced over the years. They've seen so many Raycons. They saw that the logo was an old logo. The company had rebranded, and the new logo was slightly different. Another time we saw a difference in logo is when it was too pixelated, because they take stuff like low resolution images and they throw them on there, and when you keep it's like reprinting like a Xerox copy over and over again. It comes out crappy, and that they noticed that as well. Yeah, go ahead, Alex. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah,
barge
no,
in.
no, no worries, no worries. And basically, our gentleman submitted the paperwork to this guy, and basically after that it was dark. He blocked his number, never answered to his emails, nothing. He called Amazon after that to check if this person works with them. He doesn't. Even like the starting of the number is not one of Amazon's numbers. So the guy that he talked with basically has nothing to do with Amazon. He emailed Amazon. That he gave them very few details. I talked with him. I gave him a little bit more detail, a little bit more advices, and he sent a second email to Amazon explaining them in a much broader and more detailed explanation with every single step. Because I told them, man, every single information that you give them, it will help your case by a lot. You never know when you're gonna give them properly the right information that they need in order to catch the guy. And in fact, it actually worked. Um, it has a little bit of a bright side of the story. It seems like there is some carrier out of Michigan, a Russian carrier, according to him. That's what he told me. It's a Russian carrier out of Michigan that basically he called, explained to the dispatcher that answered, because it was the dispatcher that answered what happened. They told him, "Well, hold on 1 second, let me transfer you to my manager." He got transferred to the manager, and the manager put him on a hold for a minute and then hung up. And he retried and retried and retried to call. In the end, he answered. The manager answered, but he didn't say anything over the phone. And I really love the approach of Mr. Khaled on this one, because he was really smart. He said, "Look, from this point on, I got nothing else to lose. So I'm gonna go to the authorities with this case. I have all the proof. I have everything from Amazon and all the proof needed that this scam is going through you. He even told him, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, if you're part of it or not, but is your company part of it that makes the direct responsible?
Exactly.
So I'm gonna give you 1 week to find out what's going on and send me my money. Otherwise, I'm gonna go to the authorities."
Hmm.
and that's really good from him. Now from here, we'll see pretty much what is gonna happen. Maybe by the time next week Caleb comes on live, he'll tell us even a second part of the story and how it unraveled and all. But we can learn something from this, especially new guys. You have to learn from this story, and I'm gonna break it down to you. So we all know there are a lot of scammers on the market. There are legit scammers and total scammers. The legit scammers, you see them pretty easily.
What's a legit scammer?
A legit scammer is the one that basically tries to scam people, but on a legitimate way. Basically, they make their own brokerage company. They try to sell loads and they stop paying and they go bankrupt.
Okay.
That's a legit scammer, basically. This one was definitely not the case. There are other types of scams. This type of scam was basically there are a couple of systems that people do this kind of scams. I looked into it quite a lot like yesterday. Uh, I've looked on other stories and how other people get scammed. Basically, these guys, what do they do? Um, either so basically, there is a person that booked this load from Amazon Relay. Either he can be also an ex-employee, or he's somebody that has a connection from an ex-employee or a current employee that is doing fraud from Amazon Relay. According to the Raycon that he sent me, basically here is a second broker involved, Transport Logistics. So basically, here about a double brokering with dual carrier. That means that the load was booked under Amazon Relay, probably through this Transport Logistics. Transport Logistics booked it to the culprit, and the culprit refabricated the Raycon and booked it to our gentleman, Mr. Khaled. So basically, what did that have? What that and double brokering, guys? Yeah, I know every broker puts it on the Raycon. Oh no, double brokering. They do it in between themselves all the time.
Oh yeah.
They say, "Oh, it's an auction load." No, it's not an auction load. It doesn't work that way. Auction ends up a day or two or three ago.
And we'll respond to all the questions and comments in the chat just so you guys are aware. I am seeing those.
Well, let's see. I'm new to the industry. Can I have some tips for sales? How to convince a carrier to work with the company, and what is the best strategy for sales? In terms of that, because I'm the one who actually handles that, I could help you, but then I would basically give you my own bread.
Well,
Put it in a different
so the thing
light.
is, this is a gentleman from Pakistan who had mentioned earlier. I believe I need to have a better understanding of what type of company you are because it sounds like you are not a trucking company. It sounds to me like you're a broker, and for a broker in this market to have to convince a carrier to work with them, that sounds a little strange, you know. So either maybe you're underpricing, or maybe you don't have the references, or your credit history isn't in place. So there could be a lot of those things going on. A lot of factoring companies won't work with new brokers. That could be it. Could be the age of your MC, if that's what you're talking about. Because I don't quite understand what you mean. Because you're referring to sales on how to convince a carrier to work with your company. And so it sounds to me that you're either a producer, some sort of manufacturer, or a broker, or a freight forwarder, something along those lines. So that's a little bit out of our realm. But from our perspective as truckers, there are a few things you could be doing. But I can really only respond to that now. I can only really respond to that if once we understand what what your position is in. Now, Right and Dirty is stuck out in a dead zone out in Denver. He says, "Get me out of here tomorrow." Yeah, we'll get you out, my friend. Get set up with us. We'll get you going. We got a new guy starting tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be welcoming him tomorrow and starting on Tuesday. So that's Norman.
Correct.
Norman will be starting with us. That'll be awesome. So I'll get that over. But yeah, I think ultimately what Alex is saying here, and this is appropriate with Amazon's response, is basically that Amazon does not use third-party load boards for tenders. So if you see an Amazon load on a third party, don't take it because it's BS. They also ask that the trucker...
Wait, well, I'm gonna correct you on that 1 second. Sometimes they do post it on DAT.
The thing is, it's not necessarily them. What you should be doing is contacting Amazon directly through Relay, booking it through Relay, because it's going to have that specific load will be on Relay. You want to be covered by Relay, by their terms of policy, versus risking taking it somewhere else. They have their own. This isn't like a TQL. You know what I mean? TQL has its own load board, but you can work directly with that with that extension, with that agent. But in this case, you'd rather just book it through Relay in order to be able to lock it in under what's actually listed under Relay, because then you're covered under them. So what they're saying is that they're asking a trucker to report the incident with all the details for an investigation. Whether that's going to lead anywhere or not is, who knows. And then they're also advising that using Amazon's Relay program for future loads is the way to basically avoid the entire situation. So, and I would agree with that. I think that if we're going to work in a captive market, then use the captive market's load board to be able to do that. Now, if you choose to go outside of that captive market and actually operate strictly inside of the spot market and get set up with specific brokers that are going to give you a load tender each and every time, then you're specifically working with that, with that broker and that load tender. So why should Amazon be any different? If you want to get covered, you already know that you're going to have a higher prevalence of scams going with Amazon, because that's where a lot of these are happening, is Amazon loads. Unfortunately, people fall for this stuff. So then if you do want to work with them and there is an attractive offer and an attractive load that works for you, then book it through Amazon Relay. Simple as that. Anything other than that will run the risk of getting scammed. And again, you can get...
And eventually, even if you booked it out of DAT, the simplest thing you can do before you pick it up, before you pick up the trailer,
is make a phone call.
give a simple call to the Amazon,
That's
tell
right.
them the load number, and tell them your MC to see if it's booked under you.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's
It's as easy as it gets.
Yep, that's it right there. And remember, I mean, there are different ways of doing that. So, for example, if for example a carrier, say my company picks up a load, and I get this load from a brokerage, and then say my truck breaks down, I don't know, halfway through the route, and I go out and I find another carrier, and they take this load, and we make a deal, we contact the broker, we do everything correctly, get the paperwork, get all this recorded, and then we carry that over. What that's called is interlining, because the initial carrier, myself, has attempted to run this run. We had a legitimate breakdown, and so now we're interlining the load to be finished off with another carrier. The broker still owes me the money, and then I have my own agreement with the carrier. Or the broker can pay a portion of that to that, which I don't like, because then they start to say, well, you technically ran this much and this much and that much, and we actually don't owe you this much money, blah, blah, blah. They get into that. You ultimately want to collect that money and do the interlining deal. Something like that happens, absolutely. But I hardly ever hear that. Most people don't even know the term interlining. And what this is ultimately is an absolute scam, because there is no second carrier involved. And the one that is involved is strictly for double brokering purposes. Like Alex said, there was another carrier, TransPro or whatever the name was, and they're the ones who did that. You want to check the BOLs, you want to check the documentation, the paperwork you're getting, and remember, with Amazon, if you are going to get scammed, we had that with a customer, and we told them, do not drop the load, do not deliver the load, but they did, and guess what? The scamming party got paid instantaneously, because everything was delivered, everything was clean, everything is done digitally, and they got their money. So Alex, absolutely, that's a great story, man.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I told them to not expect. I've looked it up on a lot of forums and people that are sharing their trucking stories and how they got scammed and so go on.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen a lot of cases where Amazon actually, even though the scammer got paid, they did a chargeback.
Mm-hmm.
If it was reported in time, and he actually reported in within less than 24 hours, so that's very good. He acted very quickly about it.
Very quickly.
But I saw also cases where it wasn't that.
Yeah, you have to be very,
didn't
very
manage to
careful.
recover their money.
And most
So
of the
I
time.
told him to Mr. Caleb, like, first of all, don't expect that trade, because that trade is probably fake to fish you in. That's first of all. And second of all, don't expect that you're gonna get your money. Like, don't get your hopes too high, because the mistake was already done, the load was already delivered, so there's not much that you can do on that side. However, you can give them all the information you can in order to sound as legit as possible and to show that you're a hardworking guy and you got scammed, but you still did the work for them, so you should be the one that has to be paid.
Yeah.
I told them whatever they give you, accept it, because they're not gonna give you more. Because if you look at it on a professional level, it was your mistake too.
Yeah, to verify that information. Well, the other thing is sometimes, and I've talked to a factoring company about this once, and sometimes it actually happens, they end up paying twice. And so sometimes the loads get factored on a non-recourse deal and stuff like that. Still try to attempt to get the money, but if that's not the case, then usually you're out of money. You have nowhere to really file a bond. It's not necessarily a direct freight from Amazon, so you can't file a bond claim against them. The sailing party is not really real, and the bond's probably exhausted. So by that time, you may not be able to reach. That's what a lot of companies do. That's what a lot of companies doing now. Actually, what they'll do is you have your $75,000 bond. They know what the amount is, and let's just assume a 30-day net 30 for payments, and 30-day window to write as much crap business as you possibly can. Sell, overpriced freight, move the loads, do whatever you got to do to bring up as many receivables as possible as quickly as possible within a 30-day window, because you know that by day 35, 36, you're going to start getting phone calls because factors didn't get paid, customers didn't get paid. A lot of different companies didn't get paid that are involved that need to get paid. And so you know that those calls are coming in and the gig will be up at that point. So you have to write as much crap business as you possibly can in order to, because once that $75,000 bond is exhausted, that's it. You're most likely never going to see your money. And believe me, in a month, brokers write a lot more than $75,000 worth of. Some brokers write that in a day. Some brokers like TQL write that probably in a few minutes throughout the day. That's why TQL has much larger bonds. In fact, they have a little bit of a different setup, but specifically TQL, they have a surety out there. Much respect for the World Logistics YouTube channel. Hey, thank you so much, World Logistics. I'll have to stop by, check out your channel. Definitely appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're just trying to keep guys honest. It's going to be tough to keep brokers honest, but we definitely want to make sure that truckers are going to be, on their toes and they have the telltale signs when these things come up. Be super, super careful about it. And I'll kind of, Alex, if you don't mind, I'm going to switch over to kind of the story that I was going to talk about. Did you have anything else to add? Because I keep cutting you off here.
No worries, no worries. So I wanted to give some general tips on how to avoid, because, for example, it's probably this case where it is that the load was posted under a company, the Raycon is under another company. It is a little bit strange, but it's not uncommon, and it's not necessarily a scam. So don't try to assume that is a scam immediately as you see that. There are companies that have subdivisioners that have little other companies that work together that basically for example, the load is gonna be posted under Scott Logistics, but it's gonna be sold by another broker. That's completely fine. There are companies that work under the bigger brokers, and it can happen. We've seen it too. And the way how you can act on that, because that's a very big red flag when you're looking for a scam. That's one of the biggest red flags. Is look out for the website of the main company that was posted the load under. Call their care
Thank you, World
relationship.
Logistics.
Give them call their care relationship, or even their main number out, and verify your load number if that load number is booked under you. That's the most important part. And of course, the amount of money to
Yeah.
correlate with the rate gun. Once everything correlates and everything is good, you can ask them, and they're obligated to give it to you. Most of the brokers have this policy inside. You can ask them, you can give them your email, and they'll give you basically a security email, sort of. I don't even know how to express it. Basically, they'll send you a written proof that the company, I don't know, X SRL is working under them, basically.
Yeah, you got to be careful. And thank you again for World Logistics. Honestly, we're just trying to, just make this accessible. One screwed up load, the things that he's saying are, what Alex is saying are real telltale signs of a bad load, of a scam load, things like that. And while he was talking, I was actually looking for a list that Micah sent me last week. I thought this would be something that we definitely want to share with the guys. So no, Alex, absolutely right. And I'm glad that people are picking up on that and actually seeing that, we're being honest about it, man. We don't want to get you guys bad loads. We don't want to get you guys, things that will potentially put you out of business. We definitely don't want to do any of those things. So absolutely. And in fact, now I just found a load. So not a load, I'm sorry, a list of the brokers that Mike has sent me. So one of our guys in management who watches over everything very, very closely recently sent me a kind of a message. And then this is not an end all be all kind of a thing, but it will give you a good idea. And I'm not going to, this isn't putting any companies down. And this is in reference to one specific carrier who is less than 90 days in business. And let's take a look here. ESAM is saying, what do you think about TQL fraudulent claims? So we'll talk about that. What it do, reputable? It's good to see you, man. Have you guys dealt with a fair share of scammers? Oh, absolutely. We try to stay away of as much as possible, but it unfortunately does get to us with the volume of freight that we end up working with, and we definitely have a little black book of brokers that we don't work with. Whether your factoring company accepts them or not, we don't accept them, so we just don't work with them because you're just asking for trouble. Alex, your background. Alex is a man of lots of different things. He's done all sorts of different. He's worked with us as a dispatcher. He's worked in retail, I believe, all kinds of stuff like that.
I've been bartending for a really long time, and after that, I pretty much came to you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's all those things have really helped. Bartending and working staff and people, that kind of stuff.
I worked with people since I was 18.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why he kind of fit that really well. Yeah, we definitely dealt with a lot there. Guys have to do their due diligence to check broker's credit. Absolutely. That's super important. Valentin said that you have to do your due diligence and run broker credit checks. Absolutely be aware of that. But one caveat to remember is this. Every load that we, as dispatchers, that we run, whether for carriers or owner operators, doesn't matter. We run credit checks. However, one thing you got to remember is this. The credit check is only good for the time being when you took the load. Alex, are you Serbian?
No, I'm not Serbian. I'm Italian.
Yeah. So what it is the credit check gets ran, it passes, you take the load, you run it. But what happens is the moment that your documents are submitted to your factoring company for running a credit check, for payment, they run a credit check, and that credit check supersedes any other credit checks prior to that. So if the factor finds that the broker you already completed the load currently did not pass a credit check, and again, it could be not necessarily because it's a bad broker or because their days to pay have gone up and the factor is worried. It could be that your factoring company is simply too small. They can't take the major hit if they lose a deal like this. And because remember, when you open up an account with your factoring company, they give you a credit line of like, let's say 50,000 or 100,000, whatever it might be. They do the same thing with the broker. We just don't hear about that. But if the factor is small and they've taken out a ton of different jobs that truckers have submitted for payment, they're going to say, you know what, we have too many eggs in this basket. So now, until this the payables are reduced a little bit and we open up a little bit of room in that credit that's available for the broker, we're not going to take any more deals. But it's like, well, Mr. Factor, 2 days ago this was fine. Well, it's like, well, Mr. Carrier, it's no longer good because we cannot take this we can't take this liability. So you have to be careful on that end as well. It doesn't necessarily mean that you did something wrong or that you're working with a bad broker. It could be that you're simply working with a factor that is a little bit too small for your game, basically.
Yeah, reputable rides. I mean, you actually jumped over his question. Because have you guys dealt with a fair share of scammers on your end? Oh yeah. Oh boy.
I didn't think we missed that. Yeah, we told you we
dealt with
did
it properly myself.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell a little bit of a funny story on how we handled it. As you already know, we worked together at AFT with Agency Dispatch, and back then I was dispatching one truck that was working. It was a lease owner operator under Agency Logistics. We did. You're gonna find it very crazy. Basically, when I when I checked their credit score, when I booked the load, it was a load P8 up to Portland, Oregon. It was a really really long load. The market was super super bad.
Oh, reputable rides. Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't let Alex answer. That was my
No,
fault.
the background question. I mean, if since Vitaly wanted to say, yeah, man, I did a little bit of retailing from 18 to 19. And everybody's so curious. Then I did bartending in Rimini, Italy. Is a very very famous place for a lot of clubs, nightclubs, and a lot of parties. I actually worked in a club where Benny Benassi was coming every 2 weeks. If everybody's so curious about it.
Benny
Then
Benassi.
at
Awesome.
22, I started working with logistics, then slowly transitioned with AFT Dispatch 2, and I've been working with these guys ever since. With a little break of 6 months once because I wanted to experience something different. Now everybody knows me.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So, yeah, he's Italian descent, and no worries, you guys are good. Yeah, sorry, I must have misunderstood. Yeah. So, yeah, Alex has been a guy in Italy for a long time. They actually he teaches me Italian words for something. I want to say French words. No, Italian words here and there, but I'm not very good at them. He's constantly correcting me.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm born and raised in Italy. When I was 18, I moved into US with. I mean, I came into US with a friend through an exchange program. I liked it a lot, and I met a lot of people. I managed to get a work visa. I came here to work. I slowly settled in, got married, got my citizenship, and then I moved in. And now I'm back a little bit back in Italy because I'm taking care of my family.
That's awesome. What does VA fungulo mean?
Yeah,
I think I
so
just
saying
swore.
about that $8 load. Basically, the
I'm gonna see if I can find that.
I'll tell you in private.
Yeah, I felt like as soon as I said it, I was like, I think I swore just now. I think I just swore.
Yeah, it is definitely a swear. It's the most common one.
Oh yeah.
However, the basically what happened, I booked the load. It was like Monday or Tuesday in the morning. It was rated as a C, that had very few invoices. Had only like 20 or 30. It was properly when Mike implemented our internal policy, if you remember, Vitaly,
Hmm.
with the minimum invoices that they had
Oh
to have.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was probably because of my load. That's what happened. When I booked it, it was C rated. It had like 20 something invoices in the past 60 days. Next day, the guys from the accounting checked the load that I booked it, and it was an N. Do not book. It was a red one.
Yeah. Do not use it.
And back then, basically, the average was somewhere around 170. It was probably one of the lowest points in the market that has ever been. Properly at the start of the COVID, those 2 months where the market went bankrupt, literally. A lot of people went out of business. And I called the broker. I said, "Look, I checked that through factoring before you were approved. Now you're not approved anymore. My factoring will not be able to pay me. How can we solve this? My guy is one day away." Luckily for me, and that's how I kept my job, basically, they were agreed to do a transfer to our guys, to our guys, and they did even did like half of it before the delivery. So we managed to recover it in the end. However, this was a very lucky case. It could have been the other side, that would have not get paid, and that would have been a load of $6,100. And it was somewhere around $2,000 to fuel.
Yeah. No, that would have been definitely pretty bad. But yeah, we definitely get our share of that every year. We have a ton of money.
Yeah, but the thing is, back then, even when a company, the truckers themselves, they're not doing very well because the market was probably in the lowest point possible.
No, absolutely. It's a horrible way to go, if you will, because yeah,
Yeah, I
you
mean, those 2 months, the best average was 150 a mile.
mm-hmm.
Those 2
Well,
months.
so here's an example, kind of reiterate that to you guys, based on what Mike has actually sent me as far some of the brokers that would not work with this carrier. Now, this carrier is not a bad carrier; it's just a newer carrier. As MC hasn't been aged enough to be able to work with some of these companies. But basically, Coyote wouldn't work with them. CH Robinson wouldn't work with them. TQL just hung up on it, would not give them a reason why. I mean, TQL will work with you if you got a truck, a trailer, and a pulse. In fact, sometimes you don't even need to have a trailer, and they'll still work with you. But they refuse to do it.
Or
They also
Pulse.
refuse to answer questions. Huh? What's up? I guess you don't even need a pulse to work with TQL. you know? Oh my goodness, yeah. But then what they said, actually, so TQL was no go, Coyote was no go, CH Robinson was no go, Arrive Logistics was a no go, Schneider was a no go, Molo was was a no go, Buchanan Hauling and Rigging was a no go, Ryan Transportation Services Inc. was a no go. Logistic Dynamics Inc. was no go. Kirsch, oh, there's read more. Okay, so Kirsch Transportation Services Inc. was no go. Magellan Transport was a no go. Axel Logistics was no go. Spot Freight was no go. Garrison Logistics was no go. Transloop Logistics was no go. And then last but not least, ATS Logistics / better known as Sureweight Transportation Company was also no go. So, Who is he supposed to work with? Now, I didn't go through the reasons why, but mainly you needed 6 months of MC authority. You need 3 months of MC authority. You need additional inspection. ATS just hung up on him. TQL hung up on him. Molosh needed 6 months, Arrive 6 months, Schneider 9 months. Issues with all sorts of different things, you know. So we have one carrier in particular. I'm not going to mention names or anything like that, but he's a very clean carrier. He stays on top of everything. Nothing goes amiss. Everything, you know. You need more carriers like this guy. We couldn't get him booked because in carrier assure. In fact, 2 guys I have like that. One is very established. The other one not so much. However, both of them have problems with carrier assure. They're both F-rated in carrier assure. Both of them have attempted to contact carrier assure. Over the phone, they act like carrier 411 that absolutely blocks you because you're a carrier. Well, carrier is in your name, carrier assure. Email is completely ignored. So when you have an organization that is actually a private organization that has a membership fee for brokers that pay on it in order to run credit checks on the carriers, basically, that we do on the brokers. But then you don't give an opportunity, you claim you do. I've provided the information in one of the blog posts, and we also made a detailed video. However, the information that we provided to you guys, based on what Carrier Assure has told us and has told publicly to be used in order to correct those issues, they themselves ignore those issues. So what does that tell me? If you can't contact a governing body that everyone pays into in order to make a judgment on whether or not you are a good company, and I can't correct incorrect information because you ignore me and block me, then are you not effectively holding me back from doing business? Alex, are you there? You kind of went black on me, and I'm not sure if...
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Just solving one thing.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I just want to make sure we didn't have any technical issues. So, you know, I definitely have some issues with that, you know, especially with brokers who will not work with you. You fulfill all their requirements. When they have nothing to respond to you, they just hang up on you. They block you. They write bad reviews about you. You become F-rated on Carrier Assure, can't repair those things. There are mistakes on Safer. The federal government can't seem to keep up with basic maintenance of a single database website that... you know what I mean? That still looks like it was developed in 1985. So we have a long road ahead of us. And this is kind of where I'm going to switch over to this other story that I put together, see if I can kind of put this together for you guys. And it's very, very similar. And I usually don't cover stories like this, but what this is about is about an Ohio company, or actually a line of multiple companies. With all your guys' experience, the current state of the market matches.
Yeah, I wanted to actually answer that.
Historically.
2020, start of 2020 was exactly the same thing. The rates were actually lower, much lower. The average was somewhere I will say just driving for now. There was somewhere in between 140 and 160 average, but the fuel was cheaper. Now the rates are somewhere between 220 to 30, but the fuel is much more expensive. But the net was probably was around the same area.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing you guys should remember, those of you guys have been in the industry long enough, you might remember when ELDs kicked into effect, and nationally, right? Let's be honest, the peak of the ELD market when half the industry was like, oh, we forgot about ELDs, or the switch from AOBRDs to ELDs. Who remembers that? When the ELD went into effect, if I remember right, that was what, 2019? What am I talking about? 2000. What was that? 2017, I think, was the year. Best market. The rates that we saw during that time completely eclipsed what we saw with the COVID boom, right? And the bust wasn't as bad as what we're seeing, because the COVID bust has been longer than a COVID boom. But during when ELDs kicked in, I remember this load. It was like $18,000, $19,000 they were offering us from one pick, one drop out of Salt Lake City on a reefer going out to Jersey or something like that. It was a one pick, one drop for like 18 grand. 2017, there it is. Yeah, that's it right there. Because I remember I had just moved in, had just signed a new lease, 1 year contract on a new lease on our biggest building at the time. Here in Salt Lake, and the market was just pulled from under me because nobody needed a dispatcher at that time, because brokers were crying. They were willing to do whatever. Customers were paying. I mean, you'd get a starting price of $17,000, $18,000, $19,000 for a one pick, one drop reefer load, nothing crazy. And you could still negotiate and bring it up by thousands of dollars. We never saw that during the peak of COVID. We saw guys making 20 grand in a week. We had that. We had guys making $25,000 in a week on a reefer. But for you to pick a single load, nothing super heavy, nothing crazy on a reefer temperatures, one pick, one drop, don't have to deadhead out to Idaho and still pull up, $18, $19, $20,000 in a single run and then come back and make extra money. Those I honestly feel like 2017, 2018, those years have actually, well, it was a short period. But
during the COVID, I think the highest load we ever took, like a one pick, one drop, was a 14K from Cali to Jersey.
Well, I'm talking about like week wise. We had a whole week where in 7 days, the guys brought in over $20,000 to the week. 25,000. We had those.
Twice, yeah.
So, we've had some of those guys, but I'm just saying during the ELD days, it really paid better. And then that'll kind of segue into the story. This is a 59-year-old woman, Alice Martin, and this is in regards to Martin Logistics Incorporated. Company's got 5 trucks, and let's be sure that we're not throwing the wrong names here. We're talking Martin as in Martin, not Martin Marten, which is a brokerage firm that's been on the market for a very long time. I believe they're still in business. Well, Miss Martin here out of Louisville, Ohio, had this company along with a number of other companies that she had opened up. And in the process, one was called TSA Transportation, which I couldn't find any details on that. There was also another company that was receiving payments called AF Martin, which I also couldn't find in Safer or much information elsewhere. And ultimately what happened is that between the years, if we go chronologically, from 2011 to 2013, she basically started a company, another company, another company. There were companies almost like shells. One company would get a division, which would run as a separate company underneath it, and money flowed in different ways from where the money was deposited versus where it was picked up, and who ran the freight and who double brokered what, because some of these loads were actually brokered out to outside carriers. It was a big mess. But for simplicity's sake, from 2011 to 13, there was issues with taxes. There were issues with penalties, and there was interest on those taxes that were never paid. Now, moving forward from 2013 to 2018, they had an assessment of additional of income taxes, and so ultimately, what it came down to. Good luck, Sally. What do you say? Last day here for trucking, going to get married and start to be an electrician. Hey man, more power to you and congratulations getting married. And electricians make some really good money. You're gonna have your normal work, or you're not gonna have to, basically live on a road. You'll make really good money, and it's definitely have a lot more appreciation and respect from the other side, because truckers definitely don't get enough respect. So good luck to you, man. Many years of happy marriage to you. Excellent, Sally, and certainly good luck and congratulations, man. Very cool. Kind of back to the story, what it really comes down to, guys, is that she failed to report $3.5 million, or nearly $3.5 million in gross income. Imagine $3.5 million that you guys made, you just don't even report it. Then she failed to pay $1.2 million in taxes owed on that on that $3.5 million, or nearly $1.2 million. And then here's the kicker. The entire time, all this money that was made, it was actually from the DOD. Those of you guys don't know, it's the Department of Defense. It's the Department of Defense with the United States of... Alex is going to be leaving us here. He's got a couple of things to take care of. So thank you for the story, man. That was an awesome story, and it really helped me kind of segue into this. So really appreciate it, man. We'll see you tomorrow, and thanks again.
Thank you too, Vitaly.
See you, Alex.
And thank you, everybody. See ya.
Thank you. So kind of with the story, what ended up happening is that she didn't pay any of this. She worked with the Department of Defense, major contract. She, had other carriers hauling this freight. She had had her own trucks carrying this freight. There were other companies involved as well, whether it was brokered or direct freight. I have no idea how that worked. But ultimately, the IRS began a collections effort. Then the IRS set out some tax liens on her and their companies. Ultimately, she began getting sued and losing these lawsuits to various other trucking companies, other parties, for various reasons, if you will, that are related to, these jobs that were done. And ultimately, judgments and settlements and liens were put into effect against Martin Logistics. And at the end of the day, many trucking companies basically said that, in the nicest way possible, they refused to work with them because they were slow to pay the money, right? So they would make all this money, not pay taxes, reroute all the funds through different organizations, broker out the freight that was going out under them, did this whole complicated situation, amassed $3.5 million worth of gross income through a Department of Defense contract or work. Everything was approved. The MC is active to this day. I checked it this afternoon before I did, when I took the notes on the story. The MC is still there, authorized to haul. You can actually see they're set up as a, part of it is a private registration. Part of it is and the majority of the freight that they carry is government loads, mail, things like that. So everything's listed on the MCS 150 on Safer exactly as this is. And so, it makes me wonder about the situation that we find ourselves in the trucking industry, because here you have trucking companies that can operate with government contracts, who can break every rule in the book, who can sell the freight, which I'm sure was not acceptable to those contracts, but maybe I'm wrong. They can screw other carriers being a carrier, be bad, and I'm sure they probably ended up not paying on some of the freight. Because that's generally how it ends. Towards the end of these deals, the last guys on the tail end of it, they just don't get paid. So you are, as a carrier, are going in with your eyes wide open doing this. Hey, Jason, good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Hope you guys are doing well, man. Florida, I want to come visit. It's disheartening, because last week or a couple weeks ago, actually for 2 weeks, we did these stories. We kept going with the border wars, with all the work that's being done with Laredo, Nuevo Laredo on the Mexican side, in New Mexico, California, all the stuff that we got going on in terms of the B1 visas. Ultimately what it comes down to is our own US-based companies are selling out our own US-based trucking companies in order to make a quick buck. The brokers turn around and say, oh, okay, you guys are willing to work next to nothing. We're going to lower the rate. What did you guys think was going to happen? It's the same thing in any market. When you start to cut each other's throats and start to do this, thank you very much, man. Jason, I really appreciate it. I was half joking, but I know that you guys, you and your wife, your son, you guys are very welcoming people. I've had a number of really good conversations, and I hope you guys are all doing really, really, really well. But I'll definitely be swinging by, because I have to see how does Florida summer really feel, because I've never been in Florida during the summer. It's always been during the good vacation times, but I got to go in there, but and see how does it actually feel. And I got some family over there too. It'll be good to visit, so thank you. But ultimately, guys, it's tough times for trucking, because all the liability, all the expenses, all the headaches, all the rules and laws and regulations, all that falls on you. You gotta pay everything up front and wait for it for 30 minutes. It's hot, huh? I've heard about that. Like, I know that your summers have already started, so that's. I'm pretty happy about it. I prefer the heat over the cold, but some people like it the other way around. Although I did live a year in Lincoln, Nebraska during one of the coldest winters in history on the books, and that was definitely an experience. And it looks like Valentina is also in Florida as well. I'm in Salt Lake City, so just barely started warming up. So thank you guys. By the way, I haven't asked, but if you guys get a chance, please hit the like button. It really helps a ton, gets these videos out there, even on the lives and all this, because these live videos will never get as many views as some of the other ones. And by the way, if you guys are interested in any of our services whatsoever, let me see, how do I make this switch over correctly so we can take a look at this. I guess there it is. So let me actually turn off Alex's. Nope, that's me right there. All right, so we provide two different services. Those of you guys that watch our videos are fully aware. Two different things. Truck dispatch services, been around for over a decade in business. We just celebrated 12 years in business in trucking in April on the 24th. Same. It's kind of interesting. I'm Armenian, and my company was actually approved on the anniversary of the Armenian genocide, which is kind of crazy, and which happened in 1915. And our very first truck was actually numbered 1915. It was just a happenstance, coincidence, call it what you will. I guess I'm just looking for patterns where they don't exist. So got some comments out here, guys, of a Mexican carrying Northern PA. What's up with that? Oh, you saw, yeah, exactly. So, and we'll cover that, Sam. We'll definitely cover that. And this is Gary Mar Gonzalez says, you want any info on Mexican CDL license are being sold to foreigners in USA and companies companies are hiring them. There you go, man. Tex Williams in the house. Howdy, howdy. Absolutely. Thank you for stopping by. So a couple of those things. So you bring both Esam and Gary Mar Gonzalez bring up a really, really good point. So he's saying, Sam is saying, they're Mexican. He saw Mexican carriers in northern PA. Like, what's up with that? So yeah, you shouldn't be seeing that. So the only time that it's legal for a Mexican carrier or a Canadian carrier to be seen past the northern and the southern border, deeper inside the country, is if they have a dual authority, which is less than 1%. So most of the time, if you see that, they're probably breaking rules. The problem that we've had is that this is the way it is. You gotta make more money. You gotta undercut everybody. You gotta bring the prices down. And so when you have a Mexican carrier who's making, let's say a Mexican carrier is making $1 a mile in Mexico. In the U.S., they're going to pay them $1.40 to $1.50, 40 to 50% more than what they would pay over there. Okay, in Mexico. So of course they're going to come out here and do that. And then of course there's a huge difference. You get paid in U.S. dollars and you transfer it over to pesos. Beautiful. The currency exchange works wonders. The same thing happens with Canada. We just only recently started hearing about Mexico, but it's been happening a ton for years. And part of it is because of NAFTA, which was, the agreement between the North American agreement, which was, hey, Lord Kevin says, Barev. That's hello in Armenian. Barev. hello. And thank you for that. And so we had NAFTA put into place to protect the United States and the trade between Canada, the United States, and Mexico. But we also had, cabotage laws that we covered extensively. That video got a ton of views, and we wrote I've been working on a blog post. If you guys visit our site, I haven't posted anything in several weeks now, because I'm not sure. I'm really trying to be careful about my position with cabotage, because some people misunderstand, what it really means. And the problem is that cabotage was designed, those laws were designed for maritime and also other ways of shipping, like in the trucking industry, which were designed to actually protect the American trucker, the business within America, and ultimately, lower or at least keep the costs acceptable to the American consumer. But it ended up doing the reverse of that. And the problem is that American companies are actually taking advantage of those laws and hiring abroad, bringing the guys in, because they know that, there are security problems in Mexico. There are safety problems in Mexico. The loads don't pay that well. You're putting your life at risk. And then if you are able to do this in the United States, you can operate at a lower cost, because you're not going to be paying taxes on anything. A lot of these guys just don't care. You're going to get a bigger bonus on the money side, because the American companies are willing to pay you more in order for you to work for next to nothing. But for you, that next to nothing is actually 40 to 50% more money. And so that directly undercuts the American consumer and American trucker, because the American broker is going to take advantage of that situation and says, I don't need to pay $2 a mile. I can pay $1 a mile, because he's going to go negative, but the driver is going to make his money. They're going to come out of there and going to make up the difference, while they're going to milk the market throughout the different parts of the country. They might stay out for several months at a time, make the money, come back out, and that ultimately screws the American truckers, because we have to pay and do everything legally. There are costs associated with all this, so that there is definitely making it very, very difficult. And so same thing is with Gary Mar. He was mentioning how you want some new info on a Mexican CDL license being, So if you have some info on that, I haven't heard about this, but it doesn't surprise me. It seems like only natural to be happening in such an environment where they're going to be selling CDLs, licenses, people's. What's the word? Basically your identity. That's probably more like identity fraud, and those things getting sold off that way. And I know Maurice is saying, let's not forget the fuel cost in the U.S. For Mexican carriers in Pennsylvania going back to Mexico, the fuel costs will eat up their profit going back. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But you have to also remember, for over the last several years, there's been a lot of carriers who would open up different MCs. They would do this, and they would open up these companies under other names that were unassociated with them, different addresses, different names, different everything, and they would just pay insurance and keep that going. So what they would actually do is they would make this money, close down the company, never pay a dime in taxes, move on to the next one. By the time the IRS gets with you, they might be out of the country. There might be no trace of anything. And so if you know that you're not going to give up 25 to 35% of your income up front, and let's run some numbers. I mean, here, let's see. If I end up running for, let's say we're running I don't know, in a month, let's say in a year, $240,000, right? That you end up running, and those guys will make even more than that sometimes because they're just breaking all the rules and everything. They might end up, doing that. But let's say I take out 0.35, so that's $84,000 that you're not going to pay in taxes. So that makes your operating rate much higher because you're never going to be paying that money in the first place. So now you can actually operate at a lower cost, right? Yeah, you got fuel. Yeah, you have all additional expenses. Absolutely. You're taking major risk doing this. But if everything works out, it actually ends up working out to their benefit because they never plan to pay those taxes and stay in business for longer than a year anyway. So it's just tougher right now because a new carrier has a hard time finding loads. As we saw, there's a lot of carriers out there that they have everything, but they're F-rated in carrier assure and they can't get it fixed. Brokers will not work with them and they won't give them a reason. Brokers won't. They won't work with you because you don't have enough trucks, or you're not set up long enough, or you're not currently set up with them, no matter what your size is or how many years you've had in business. They're creating all sorts of issues, and my concern is Carrier Assure because it's operating as a third-party company, a third-party service that is heavily relied on by the brokerage industry, but that's also undercutting the truckers by not allowing them to repair if there is a problem, and also not allowing them to basically do their business because we have to comply with them. Basically, because brokerage says you're F-rated. Sorry, company policy, can't work with you. But who is Carrier Assure? They're just taking information from Safer. That information is available via API, just like DAT and other services, and you can pay for them, and some of them are free. And they're just analyzing this data and providing analytics to carriers, to brokers. That's fine. That's great. That's wonderful service. But don't let, if you're going to do things, do it right. If I'm a good carrier, I shouldn't be blacklisted and then not have the opportunity to get things corrected, even though they say that you are. And maybe this will change in the future, but these are not good times for trucking. This is not a good time for trucking. So unfortunately, those are the things that are kind of happening. Now, there was another question that I mentioned that I would cover, and it was about TQL. Let me see. It was a gentleman that I had promised that I would respond to that. He had mentioned, he said, "What do you think about TQL fraudulent claims?" And that was ESAM. He also made some comments earlier. So TQL's been kind of a tough one for me because I've done a lot of business with TQL personally. Dispatch does a lot of TQL, and then all the carriers with or drivers with A2C Logistics, or at least on owner-operators company drivers with other companies that we work with. We take a lot of freight from TQL, and it does work out. With TQL, you have to have a special touch with them, and I stick to this from the day one since I started working with them. TQL analyzes, records, keeps track of, and basically uses any piece of quantifiable data and information that they can. How many times did we call this guy? How many times did he pick up the phone? How many rings were in that call? What kind of freight did he take? What are the lanes? They run all this information. They take everything that be quantified and they come up with a profile for you. Why this is bad for you is because they're gathering a lot more information than you're able to gather, and this is based on your activity. And so the moment you take a cheap load or two from TQL, say goodbye to having good freight in the future. You either have to take good, well-paying freight, dollar amount-wise, number-wise, with TQL, or not take it at all. Otherwise, you're going to be just getting crazy cheap freight every time. It's just because of their analytics. And maybe that's not the right word. It's just the algorithms that they use with the analytics data that they feed into it based on what they collect on your behavior as a carrier interacting with their agents. All of this is automatic. The agents have nothing to do with it. They're not inputting any information. It's just gathering things. And TQL does that better than anyone. They are the most technologically advanced brokerage in North America. Okay, and that's part of the reason why they grew so much. Now, as far as what they've been doing, you have to be very, very careful, and you have to watch your own books. I understand that with small trucking companies, you guys have a ton of stuff that you have to deal with, and it's really difficult to keep track of your AR. But what I would say is you should be, hopefully you are already doing it, keeping track of your accounts receivables in a spreadsheet somewhere, or QuickBooks, or some sort of a form. And so what ends up happening is that once you start noticing that you have too many eggs in that basket, you want to be careful because TQL is known and has been known of continuously feeding you more and more freight, knowing that there is a problem that they're they're going to return to and stop payment on all of that until it is resolved. And that may take weeks and months, or may never get resolved. And so the problem is that they will make a stop payment on the total amount of receivables that are outstanding. So if you took a load for $1,000 and you took, let's say, I don't know, 4 more loads from that point for another $2,000, so that's $8,000 of freight plus $1,000. Well, that deal was maybe a month or two ago, and then they claim that there's an issue and they put a stop on the remaining. And then what happens is you've burnt all that diesel, spent all your time, worked your hours of service, delivered all this freight, and now you're not getting paid. Your factor comes back if you're factoring and pulls that money back out. TQL simply doesn't pay out, or they drag it on, and you go out of business. So that's where you have to be really, really careful not to put all your eggs in one basket, even if that one basket is the only one that's giving you loads. That Gary Marr said that cabotage laws were created for protection of the marine companies in the United States. 100% correct, Mr. Gonzalez. You're absolutely correct. That's what they were designed for. It carried over into the trucking and transportation industry. Initially, it was designed for, exactly as I said, for maritime, for marine companies. It's a maritime law. But, to be honest with you, anything in shipping in the United States, and in fact, a lot of different things in the United States, if you look into the words themselves, they are about maritime. Maritime law is everything that runs the entire shipping industry, basically. Everything's based on maritime. So the truth is that they were designed to protect us, but it ended up actually turning around and biting us in the rear end. And right now, the southern companies, southern states, those guys are struggling. I have a lot of comments and a lot of folks that I've talked to, and comments in previous videos where they're giving me exact numbers, exact scenarios, explaining to me how it is out of Laredo. Well, plus I hear from my dispatchers, and believe me, over the last several weeks, the dispatchers have been really distraught. We have one of our dispatchers lost 6 loads on a single customer in a single day. I mean, that's just devastating. And he takes it very, very seriously, and we appreciate that about him. But we don't want our dispatchers to be nervous wrecks, and have problems. But the problem is that the normal market in today's world, under today's market conditions, has resulted in a dispatcher losing 6 loads from 6 different brokers in a single day for a single carrier just to get them booked and running, for all kinds of stupid reasons. Like, this is just ridiculous. There's no time to negotiate. There's no time. At this point, we're at a point where you just have to be first on there. And that's part of the reason we do well during bad markets, is because we use a different system that allows us to, by the time everyone else is dialing numbers, opening up their phones, going extensions, this and that, for us, it's like 2 clicks, I think, or 3 clicks maybe. And then we tied up the line, and we're most likely going to be the first ones. And for us, that's like the biggest difference. Thank you, Maurice, for the subscription. I really appreciate that, sir. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. He said, let's not forget the fuel. Absolutely, that's going to eat it up. And then cabotage laws were in for Marine Corporation. So just like I mentioned previously, a lot of that carries over. You guys have to be super careful. I honestly, I try not to talk about this, but I have talked in close circles for the last several years that and I might be wrong, but the way I feel is that we are seeing the nationalization of an industry. USSR saw that. Other communist countries have saw that. Socialist countries have seen that. And I believe that we're seeing a slow process of exactly the same thing happening here. I don't want to say many of you guys, but many truckers who own their own fleets, their own trucks, maybe single truck owner operators, maybe single truck carriers, maybe leased on guys, will eventually, unfortunately, end up as company drivers, because the pressures, the economic pressures will make it so that you cannot compete in today's market. A lot of that will come down to your operating costs and, of course, your negotiating power. If you're able to negotiate better rates, good gross, run more efficiently, have lower fuel, cheaper insurance, have your trucks paid off, your trailers paid off, all of these things handled, you're going to be in better shape. But how many of us can actually say that? I have a driver that I've been, talking all sorts of good things, great guy, and he is a great guy. But here's the thing, and this is not to his fault or even our fault. He's going to park his truck for a month. He's going to head over home to Wyoming, and he's going to park his truck for a month, unless things improve. And the reason why it's so interesting with that gentleman is because his operating costs are extremely low. Everything but his trailer is owned outright. In fact, his trailer might be by now too. Everything. He's got an old truck. He's an old mechanic from back in the day. Turns his own wrench. Great positive attitude, smart man, very hardworking, upgraded the truck. It's an old truck. extremely low operating costs. I mean, he could be making money at like $1 a mile. Literally, he could be making money at $1 a mile, and he doesn't want to do that. It's a race to the bottom. That's exactly. It's sucks. It really is bad. And the problem is that we're not helping it. You know, people are taking cheap freight when they shouldn't. People are not negotiating. They believe the brokers. They listen to this crap. You got to understand that most carriers don't understand how brokerage works. A broker with a large set of shipments. So let's say a broker's got 20 shipments that he's got to get. Don't think that just because he sold that load for you for $2 a mile, that he won't sell the next load to another guy for $2.20, and another guy for $2.30, and another guy at $2.50. The difference is that he's borrowing from future loads. Why is he stopping? Because the freight's too low. He just doesn't want to, spin his wheels and go out there. He still makes money and everything, but he's in a unique situation where he's done pretty well for himself in life. He's done quite well. Yeah, see, your cost is 88 cents a mile, and 60 cents of that's probably fuel. So I would definitely come down and figure out like where exactly your costs are with taxes. In terms of taxes, I mean like IFTA, your IRP, your cap card, stuff like that, your insurance cost, what the cost is per mile on a fixed cost, what is the cost per mile on a variable side, and figure that out. And so I think you may find yourself at possibly a higher operating cost. But like Gerald said here, Mr. Davenport said the economy is bad for everyone, not just trucking that's struggling. You're absolutely right. Absolutely. I mean, like dispatch is hurting, and I realize we're in the same sector, but other businesses are struggling as well. A lot of suppliers are not getting what they need. A lot of manufacturers are not getting what they need. The raw materials are slowing down. A lot of the economic triggers have been triggered. So a lot of companies are unable to work with the same suppliers that they used to. So it definitely hurts it. So he's a drive-in. That guy's a drive-in out of Wyoming. So it's going to make it really, really difficult for a lot of people, and they're going to go out of business. I hate to say it, but they're going to go out of business. And a lot of folks have had to do the math earlier and go out of business before, so they can actually keep some of that money, because you may not have enough in your coffers to be able to actually glide through this period. That's the thing. It's one thing if your operating costs are $1.20 a mile, and you're working towards paying off your equipment, you're making some profit, and you can get through that period. It's another thing when your operating costs are at like $2.75 and you're practically guaranteed to lose money every time. So, and there's a lot of guys like that. I have guys that have truck only payment. Just the truck payment is over $5,000. Add to that, Happy Mother's Day. That's right, Adam. There you are. Happy Mother's Day, guys. Happy Mother's Day. One thing that we all have in common is we all have a mother. So happy Mother's Day. Good people, these mothers. But, and thank you, Adam. That's a fantastic reminder. Thank you so much. If you guys, if you have a mom, give her a call. Today's the day. Folks, it's going to be rough, man. We have state laws coming out saying that after an accident, people cannot sue the insurance company. So what does that mean? That means they're going to sue the trucking company first, right? We have potential increases in insurance coverages, which will have certain increases to premiums. We have, most likely diesel going to be going up in price because summer months are coming in. We're having LMI that is reading contrary, like April LMI is contradicting the jobless claims report that came out on April 9th. People need to just get back to basics and understand that someone without a job, someone who's unemployed, isn't going to be buying a lot of stuff outside of bare necessities. Someone's got 2 or 3 jobs is going to be very careful about how they spend their money. People are currently looking at life differently. They're saying, we don't really care about we don't care about this or that. They're buying cheaper products. They're buying store brand stuff, but they're choosing to say, you know what? The one thing we're going to have is an experience, travel, memories. That has nothing to do with trucking. That doesn't do anything for us. I mean, yeah, sort of lawn chairs and stuff, we bring them in, or maybe, stuff for resorts or whatever, but that's nothing. So that's the reason why we're seeing this issue, like this plummeting and tonnage and and availability and freight. On the other hand, we've had some old commenters, old subscribers from back in the day. I remember for years, and I didn't believe these guys. But they were saying, look, man, I'm doing power only. I'm running around and I'm getting into places with thousands of loaded trailers that are just sitting there for months. They're not letting the freight go. So are they stifling the market, or is this a conspiracy theory? Because I don't want to get involved in that. But is the market being stifled? Is the market being suffocated? Are truckers being suffocated? Are small trucking companies that have operating costs above a certain dollar amount being suffocated? I think it's a resounding yes. Absolutely. I think so. And so it's for many of you guys, you're going to have to really, don't just work for work's sake. Look at what you got going on. Find ways to improve. Find it, and like I say to a lot of folks, like we've have customers who we worked with. We ran numbers. I've done all their operating costs in the spreadsheets, and we got this info. And what do they choose to do? They choose to cut out dispatch, which, in my opinion, I think is a mistake. Now, with you guys watch, you're going to say, well, of course you're going to say that. You own a dispatch company, of course. But outside of that, it's still a mistake because. So you're telling me you have 25 areas in this basket of expenses, and you have one thing in your basket that brings in gross income to cover those expenses, right? And you're going to cut this? Well, how are you going to stay in business? And then we've seen those customers book loads in order to save on the percentage that we charge. And then what they do is they undercut themselves. They leave money on the table. They screw up their entire week. But people don't realize that when you do that, you set yourself up for failure. That's what it is. Like, none of my dispatchers are driving trucks, but they're dispatching those trucks. And guess what? They're very, very good at that. So I would much rather have them dispatch me. I've had my dispatchers dispatching my brother when he was running OTR. I didn't jump in to do that. I had them take care of that. But I wouldn't have any of my dispatchers delivering any of my freight for me. Absolutely not, because that's not their specialty. That's not what they do. So leave the specialties to those who handle those things and help yourself. Don't cut out your source of income, your one sole source of income. Or say, well, Vital, you charge 7% for dispatch. I have this company that's doing it for 5%. That's fine, but compare apples to apples. Look at the numbers. Because if you're saving that 2% off of $20,000, that's $400 a month that you're saving. But if you're leaving $4,000 on the table, we got a problem. But a lot of people, unfortunately, aren't doing the basic arithmetic to see, is it that 2% difference that's killing me? Or is it the fact that I'm actually leaving on a table 20% of my gross that I could be making? Maybe that's the issue. So it's kind of like the idea of, kind of like losing your dollars and picking up, cents and nickels and dimes and stuff. So there is that. Justin says, hello, everyone. Coming to you from Chicago area today. I'm a leased owner-operator out of Idaho. Hope all is well. Justin, thank you so much, Mr. Axford. Really appreciate that. Be safe out there, my friend, to this Mother's Day. And if you get a chance, give her a call if she's around. And tell them how much how much they mean to you. And that goes to everybody in today's video. Thank you so much, everybody. A ton of viewers today. Really appreciate it. Please hit the like button. That'll really help out a lot. Doesn't cost anything, but helps a ton. Adam says, in New York City, can trucks take local truck routes besides interstate highways? I know trucks are not allowed on parkways. That's a tough one. So you're talking about specific city. So that's going to be actually closer to, I would talk to someone who actually is a New York native on that, and now I have to verify on this because most of our drivers, they don't want to go into the city. We unless they're born and raised and they're comfortable with the East Coast, with New York City specifically, and that neck of the woods, then we don't work. We try not to do that and try to keep them, in the suburbs. Upstate I'm running short on words here today. Upstate New York, like Syracuse, Albany, and Rochester, those areas, and there's a lot of really good freight out there. I'm a big fan of New York State for the HUD permit because it's not like New Mexico where you have to have a permit to pick up nothing, or like Connecticut where you just have to deal with with all this headache and then be basically nothing to pick from there, and then you have to pay special fees. New York is different. There's a lot of really good companies, a lot of good freight, both dry and refrigerated, that you can bring in, bring out, and that really gives you the opportunity to make money. You don't have to go in a city or across the bridges, get on islands or any of that. And Gerald says if it was 20% being left on the table, wouldn't rates be higher across the board? Well, the problem is that it's actually the carriers that are leaving that money on the table. I've consistently ran the numbers consistently, and we've done it before. Like, so for example, example why dispatch even opened up with us. Because here's the thing, we were like literally when I opened up the dispatch service back in the day, you could count all the dispatchers in the country, like private dispatchers like myself at the time, on one hand, maybe on two hands. That was it. And the reason it showed up was because we were running a trucking company. My brother was a driver. We started off with a box truck, unfortunately, which worked out well, but because of sheer luck, not because of any sort of skill that we had. We just got lucky. And then we got our semi truck. My brother was driving. I was driving a box truck and all this other stuff. And the thing is, what I've noticed is we started to compare our rates with all of our friends. And I started to quickly make a name for myself, and everybody started kind of, hey, can you run my truck, this, that, and that's how the dispatching started. Because I figured, well, I can only do so much, and if I pick up all these contracts and all these customers, I'm going to be working all day long. I'm going to make a very healthy sum of money, but that's all I'm going to ever get to. So what I decided to do was one of the very first dispatchers in the country that decided to expand and grow, and actually train others to do the same thing. What we found was that most carriers, like over 90%, leave money on the table. There's only a handful of carriers that I run into where I've had to be like, dude, you're doing great. You're doing either better than us, or you're doing wonderfully, or you're doing really well, or it doesn't, 7% doesn't make sense for us to take that. It doesn't, we're not going to make you more money. You're doing great. And that happens, once in a while. That does happen when the situation is truly that way. But whenever we compared, we always my brother put on less miles, a lot less deadheading. If it did, it made sense. We're going in the right direction, or even if we're going in the opposite direction, the numbers worked out. I ran them way tight, hit all the right markets, and the most important thing that I did better than honestly anyone, and with the main impetus of why we actually ran the truck dispatch service was because I literally beat everyone that came close to me. Now, the thing is, I've done sales my entire life. I've done so many different things in sales, and I've stuck with some companies and we're quickly in and out of others, and I've done it all. And I've spent a lot of years in trucking and doing this stuff, like I said, over a decade. And so I've learned a lot. And so that's how we passed on that information. But because we've been in the industry for so long, we have dispatchers who've also stayed with us for a very long time. And so they've only gotten better. They're so autonomous. I hardly ever have to get with them. It's like you have your employees, you have your entrepreneurs. These guys, I consider them more like entrepreneurs, because they're still company workers, right? They're employees, but they work like entrepreneurs within the company. They take care of stuff. Like Andy just takes care of stuff for Tex and for other guys, and I don't even know about these things. They just take it on as if this is my client, not this client was assigned to me by my company. No, this is my guy. Jason, Justin, Bob, Tex, James, whatever it might be. I don't know why so many J's today. But all these guys, that's my customer. I take responsibility over that. If something screwed up, he comes into work on a Saturday and takes care of his customer. So it takes forever to be able to get that type of a camaraderie, that type of a dynamic within a company, for people to take on responsibility for their actions or their inactions, things like that. So overall, when you have something that's that well put together, you're going to find that you're going to make more money. I mean, if you're in a truck, you're somewhere in parked somewhere, your 4G signal, 5G signal's not too good. You're working off a phone, maybe a small screen. You got a tablet, you got your headset. You're not in peak form versus having 2-3 computer screens, having an office, having people working, have a guy that just booked a load from there. Maybe another load will come in. Emails coming in from different places, loads coming in through A2C logistics of all the deals that we've done. Other customers, there's so much more opportunity. Why would you want to cut that out during bad market times? Or why would you assume, not you, of course, but I'm just saying under assumption, why would anyone think that having all of those resources and experience and time on the market and all the connections that we have developed over the years, that would somehow not add, in addition, extra money into your pocket? Absolutely. And not only will it do that, it will also reduce your stress, like visibly. Because you're not going to have to sit on a phone all day, filling out packets, negotiating, waiting in anticipation for that rate con to come in. Are they going to screw me over? Are they not going to? Is this going to come through? Is this going to fall through? Am I just going to get tonu? Am I going to waste all my entire day? Am I going to get a shower today? Do I get to eat? I'm hungry. You know what I mean? Like all these things come up. And all of that falls off. Plus, we do your paperwork, packets, insurance. We run the credit checks. We get the certificates. Accounting handles your billing and invoicing. That's a lot of stuff that you guys are already doing as it is. So you won't have to. So at the end of the day, yeah, there's a benefit to it, but you just got to make sure that that you're not leaving money. And then wherever you have other auxiliary services that you can cut out, and if it is your dispatcher and they suck, then cut them out. If we're your dispatcher and we suck, then cut us out, because that's how the market functions. I'm open to that because I know my guys are turning themselves inside out. I'm in constant contact with everyone, and our guys are stressed. They are stressed beyond belief, and that's because of the way where the market is today. But they're still delivering. They're still doing this. So the truth of the matter is that at the end of the day, you have to help yourself one way or another, either by reducing costs or increasing your gross revenue, or hopefully both. Now, a couple of other comments here is. So Gerald, and then you got Justin saying, here at our carrier, we are doing credit checks every day to protect ourselves. The fraud is getting out of hand. 100%, you have to do it. Credit checks, every single one of them. But again, as we mentioned at the first portion of the video, credit checks are good and you should be doing them. We do that every single time. And those customers of ours that do not factor, we actually run their deals through two major factors to make sure there's consensus between two separate bodies, because they wait on their invoices net 30 or they do quick pays, and so they're at a higher risk. And so we do that. So you want to be running credit checks one way or another, but be aware that a final credit check will be ran by the factor at the time of the receipt of your receivable. So before they pay you out, they're going to run more credit check. And if that credit check doesn't pass because either they have too many eggs in that basket for the factoring side, or maybe the days to pay have reduced, or they have some sort of issues, whatever may be the case, that broker will not qualify, will not pass that credit check, and you're going to be stuck holding the bag there. So just be super careful and be aware of that. Adam said, do road trains make more money by adding more trailers, or is that an Australian thing? Well, here's the thing. So road trains, that's an Australian thing for sure. We have definitely some limitations. Now, what we do have is, I think it's called a Rocky Mountain Double. Isn't that what it's called? Those of you guys in the comments, in the chat who know, I think it's called a Rocky Mountain Double or something like that, where you're actually hauling, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right, two 53-foot trailers. I think that's what it is. Now, it's very rare. You need to have, the proper licensing for that. You have to have the right, what's the word, for your doubles and triples, endorsements and things like that. So there is that. So, but I don't know if that makes more money or not. Definitely beats up your truck. Now, Esam is saying, how do you deal with a staff member trying to steal your customer? Oh yeah. So not only how do I deal with it, I've had that happen. I actually closed down my entire dispatch service at one point because I was just so frustrated. I built up a dispatch service, and this was the very first dispatchers that I had hired. I hired two people. I made a mistake on one of them. Ultimately, I made a mistake on both of them. But the dispatcher that stuck around, she was wonderful. She was great, very fast learner. She came from outside of logistics, but picked up and hit the road running, did a great job. But all of that wonderfulness came with some problems. She needed time off and work. She wanted to work from home because we're working from our office here. And, she had her kid and all kinds of other stuff. So I allowed for that, got him the phone, got him set up. But then I started noticing that she wasn't available all the time. She was constantly out of breath whenever I was calling her customer because she was handling other stuff. And Tex actually talked about this in one of the other videos where he called in, talking about how he hired dispatch companies that were, never available, or the moms that were working from, their basements, handling freight for them, but they just weren't available because they were picking up their kids from school or doing some other activities. And that's just not business. They're not working for them. They're basically working like, if I get something and it works out, then I'll make my percentage or my flat fee. That's not cool. That you're not really helping anybody doing that. Well, so what that dispatcher ended up doing was actually sticking around long enough to where she had a good idea of how to run everything, basically got paid and trained to do this job, became quite good, learned the industry, asked a lot of good questions. I've taught her a lot. And then she took every one of my paying customers and ran with them at a lower rate. And the one thing that I did that kind of hurt her a little bit on that end, because once I found out about that, I realized that she was still logging in under my accounts, and so I just left that open for a minute. And once she was done with all of that, I shut down all the accounts and changed all the passwords. Okay. Now, the reason that's a big deal is because she needs an MC number in order to open up those accounts, and she doesn't have an MC number. I have an MC number. And so it basically burnt those customers who decided to leave me for my dispatcher. We were taking care of them, and they decided to just cut me off and take off with my dispatcher, which is just as bad as my dispatcher taking those customers. That's not cool. At least communicate with me. And if you're going to leave, then leave. But then she kind of really burnt me, and she took every single one of my customers. She's still in business here in Utah. I found her on YouTube, and basically I helped her start a a thriving business. And she actually entered the industry during a time when it was a great time to enter the industry. So really worked out well for her. And that happened more than once. I've shut down the company twice over the years. And those are all learning experiences that you will pick up. This is the reason why I always chuckle, because I look at my analytics for our website and where's the traffic coming from, where are the keywords people are searching for. And I find that a huge amount comes from people searching to become truck dispatchers. They want to learn to become truck dispatchers. But the number one thing that they're searching for, laughably, is truck dispatching a hard job? Is it hard to become a truck dispatcher? Is it hard to make money in truck dispatching? Is it a difficult job? People are looking for the wrong side. Like, they just want quick money, you know what I mean? But you have to stop and think, before I take on a customer who is paying tens of thousands of dollars a month, who's struggling in a bad market, who is giving you all access to their account, who is putting their faith in you that you're going to do a great job for them, and you have no experience or anything, and you're willing to burn that company just to practice on them, just to steal, basically, that's all you're doing. You have nothing. You know, how else would they get going with you? How else would they get started? It's the things you told them. You told them you sold them the moon. You promised them that you're experienced, but you don't know anything that you're doing. Now, I understand you have to start somewhere, but you know what? Get with a friend, study, get with a dispatch company, get with a brokerage, get with a trucking company, invest yourself, your time and your knowledge, your energy, learn before you burn other people. And unfortunately, the majority of the trucking industry, the dispatchers currently that are in the market, are exactly that. They just don't care about you. They laugh all the way to the bank. And you can't build a sustainable company that way. You can't do that. You can't grow. You can't build something that's real. But the thing is, they were never interested in doing that in the first place. You were just a victim of that, that drive-by, if you will. So unfortunately, that is all too often the case. So be very, very careful. But that has happened with me, Sam, Sam said, how do you deal with the staff members trying to steal? And that kind of brings me to another point. One of the reasons that we opened up the way that we did, see, initially, the reason you see AFT Dispatch, because AFT comes from the first company, which is American Freight Trucking, still in business. We're still doing, quite well, thankfully, with that company. And so from there, I had it ran divisionally. Hey, Adam Woods, good afternoon. So I ran the dispatch divisionally. And once we grew to a point, my insurance lady, who I respect very much, has been very helpful to us in over the years, and as well as other folks that I work with, have told me, hey, you got to split this up, man. You can't just keep doing that. Yeah, very, very much a cutthroat business, trucking, dispatching, brokerage, all of those three. And so what happened is I separated the companies and split them up. Now, I've talked in a previous live last week why I did that initially that way. It was really helping me have much better credit history, have much better numbers on the trucking side, because divisionally the taxes still flow over, pass through onto the main trucking company. The IRS doesn't care about your division, because on the taxes it comes through a single place, which makes you look very, very good, and your credit worthiness goes through the roof, and you look wonderful and very, very profitable. So, right, but the problem is you're taking on excess liability because you're working with a dispatched customer, yet you are a company that's ultimately providing that service, and you are asset based. So God forbid something happens. If something does happen, they go after you. Hey, Tex, thank you so much, man. So that's the reason why we separated. We separated the entities and created a separate entity. If you look it up, it looks like AFT Dispatch was just created like a few years ago or something like that. But that's not really the case. It's just it was ran divisionally for that specific reason. We currently have a customer who's brand new. We're really struggling running him, and he went kind of all haywire, and he went and opened multiple MCs, multiple DOTs, opened up a brokerage division, multiple entities under LLCs and corporations. And some folks have done the same exact thing and put everything under one MC: brokerage, carrier, dispatch service, everything. Bad news. And so the reason that we did it this way is not only to limit our liability as a functioning organization, but also I didn't want to have any sort of ties to a brokerage, because we do our due diligence when we hire our dispatchers, but everyone, no one's infallible, and no one's perfect. And so what happens is sometimes you might hire someone, especially in a larger organization where you're constantly hiring and having someone in training, because we never know. I might pick up a customer that has 25 trucks tomorrow. You never know. And so I need to make sure that I have constant dispatchers who are worth their salt to be able to actually dispatch those customers, which requires a lot of training, a lot of monitoring, a lot of supervisory time from supervisors who are watching them. I also have other more senior dispatchers who also jump into that role, and they're taking care of those guys. And those guys don't get more than one truck anyway. And then even those trucks are monitored very closely, in order to keep the quality up. But the problem is that if I screw up or any of my guys screw up and we come to consensus to hire someone who ends up actually burning my customers, by the time that I find out that that has happened, and it's not because I'm bad at running the company or any of our guys, but it's just the sheer size of the company. By the time I find out that they burnt a customer, they took money off the top because we have a brokerage, which we don't. We're not a broker. It's the first thing you see on our carrier packet. It says AFT Dispatch is not a broker in bold letters on the first page, because that's super important, because we don't have the ability, we don't have the capacity to do the kind of scammy crap that we just covered in the first portion of today's video. And you do that by basically disallowing yourself and your company certain powers. And that way I'm protected, 100% protected. And so therefore, so are my customers. Well, a lot of people don't care about that. Or maybe they do care about it, but they just didn't think about it at the beginning. So be really careful if you're working with dispatch companies. Make sure that that you're not getting homebrew dispatch sheets, load sheets. Make sure your MC information's on there, your company name, your address, your information's there. It's your receivable. So if you had to go turn it in for cash with a factor, that you could actually do that. So keep that in mind. Gregory says, sorry for your luck. I know from the driver's side, you give your loyalty to everything just to be used every time. And from the driver's side, it's exactly the same thing, and it's a human problem, Gregory. That's what it comes down to. It has nothing to do with whether you're a trucker, dispatcher, or a broker. A lot of brokers have gotten burnt. It's just brokers are the more I don't want to say intelligent, because that's very spiteful, and I feel like those are fighting words. That's not what I'm trying to refer to, but brokers have it more tight, more down pat. Most carriers are one truck carriers, and so they're not really protecting themselves from these things. Think about it. We agreed to broker terms. They never agreed to our terms. And if we don't take those, if we say, here's a load sheet, here's a sheet that you have to agree to, they're never going to sign it. And very rarely. And I know that some guys, they attach those, or they combine PDF and they attach their tertiary documents onto these other onto the documents they get from the brokers. That holds up nothing in court. That doesn't mean anything. That just maybe makes you feel better, but it doesn't do anything. Just because you take a written raycon and then to that you attach a document that you splice together and you say that here are my terms and conditions for detention, layovers, tonus, blah, 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 blah. That doesn't mean that they actually have to run by those laws, because what's actually signed is the carrier agreement that you signed with the broker. They didn't sign anything with you. So there is that. So definitely I appreciate that, but very, very much so. But unfortunately, that's the way it is. Drivers getting burned, brokers not so much, and dispatch service quite a bit. I mean, we are in a tens of thousands of dollars annually in unpaid, uncollected from us as dispatch, just from dispatch. So so that's the problem. There's a lot of bad actors out there, and sometimes it really hurts you, because you go out of your way to help a company out. You go out of your way to help them out in like ways that other companies charge money for, like part of like consulting fees, basically. And you spend hours and hours and hours, and even like a thank you would be nice, but to get completely just rammed out of from completely out of left field, and just get destroyed completely, not get paid like $7,000-8,000 or something like that for a large fleet, really uncalled for. Or to have payments come through and then they get pulled out because they go to their bank and then they say that we are a fraud. Well, we have an agreement, and then the way that the banks work is that they have it all tied up. Like I had to deal with this thing with Bank of America. Bank of America just decides right away. They go on the side of their customer, and they say that if our customer says that these guys are a fraud, then they're a fraud. That's it. You can't get a hold of anyone. They have a department that goes in circles and leads to nowhere. They have an email where you can send documents to that they claim are like an investigation where they can open up a claim. However, they get an auto response saying that actually it doesn't do anything whatsoever, and you get stuck with absolutely nothing. And then Bank of America also blocks you as a merchant to be able to actually do anything further, and you have to deal with that carrier-specific bank branch, which is obviously out of state somewhere, and I have no right to go discuss anything with them, and they're not willing to look at anything. So what they're basically, where I arrived is that they're saying, bring your attorneys, start a lawsuit, and then we'll figure it out in court. Well, come on, guys. That's not really, that I don't have the time for that. And, and this is why we get into areas like debt collectors, law offices, and we have those in place. So those of you guys listening thinking that I'm going to screw this guy over, he doesn't chase after his money. Oh, I do. I just sometimes I allow certain things to fly, or I know certain. But if somebody goes out and just blatantly burns me and treats me like that I'm an idiot, or I'm not going to do something, or I don't know how to do something, that's not gonna fly, because that's like an insult to my to my intelligence. And if if people do that, then honestly, I'm more likely to actually go and pursue that. I actually did that with a specific case, and it wasn't worth it. It took 2 years to complete. I ended up receiving a small portion of the proceeds, which were owed to me legally, and this is after I had actually negotiated initially at a lower rate, and I still ended up getting only a small portion of that dollar amount. So the bottom line is that this will happen. Carriers, brokers will burn you. Direct customers will burn you. Other carriers will crash into your truck and run away. They'll hurt your equipment. They'll do stuff on parking lots and then ultimately run off with it. And that's just the way it is. Now, Gerald is saying, I'm currently on a load which the broker requires that he's responsible for lumper fees. He says that they'll reimburse after delivery. So that does happen quite a bit. There, you just have to bill it out and just make sure to include the receipts and everything, and make sure that was actually included, or you have an agreement with a broker that they're going to cover those lumper receipts. But they should pay you back. The only thing I don't like about that is because when and brokers love to do this, you throw it onto your gross income, you throw it onto your rate confirmation and your invoice. That becomes gross income, but it's honestly money coming back to you. But it's listed as gross income. Now on the taxes, it has to be recorded as income, unfortunately. Now you take the cost, and then you can actually reduce that as a taxable event. There are also other ways that it can be recorded on your balance sheets and your income statement. But the bottom line is that unless you're keeping track of those things separately and you have a CPA who actually knows how to do that, you're probably going to end up paying actually taxes on that money, even though it's your money coming back to you as a reimbursement. You helped an owner operated with fuel money and got burned. Okay, absolutely. That happens a lot. I'll give you an example. So I had something like that happen with me. We helped him with fuel. I paid for 1 month of his insurance to keep that going. I paid for his cab card. I gave him a reefer trailer, an older one, at extremely reasonable prices. And I paid for his diesel, gave him a full tank on the reefer, and got him also freight. Now, we booked him, made him a ton of money, and ran him on credit. And I also gave him some money that he could, because he didn't even have any money to eat, or so he said. So we did everything, and we had everything on paper and contracted, and we had invoices, and we had agreements and rental agreement. Everything was good on my end. But what had actually happened? So I mean, I've never done that again. I just really wanted to help the guy out, only because, he was a past customer we had who left us and came back. He paid all his bills. Everything was cool. And he just had a kid born. He wasn't making any money, and he was just really, really struggling. And maybe it was just all a sob story, but I fell for it and I helped him out. And then eventually when he brought the trailer back, he dumped it at a trailer dealership at a repair center. I appreciate that, Kevin. I mean, that's the truth. That's what we did. We never did it again. I've never done it for anyone else again, and that really burnt. But there's a reason why I bring that up, not to really kind of pat myself on the back or say, "Oh, we did something good." It was good. We helped them out. But the problem was that we ran into thousands of dollars. I negotiated rates. I actually fought with different companies to actually get them paid correctly. I got him rolling, and the money was fantastic. He was making money hand over fist, and he just wasn't paying his bills. So eventually I said, "Man, look, did all this stuff for you." And he would just kind of trickle in, pay some bills here and there, and then, but always have a very large running balance. And eventually, and I recorded. So, like, for example, if you guys ever owe a large dollar amount with the company, and let's say you send me a partial payment, it will actually get recorded, and you'll get an updated invoice, and we'll show that it was paid on this date, using like a check or a credit card, and this dollar amount. It will update everything. Thanks so much, man. Thank you, guys. It will update your invoice, and it will actually show you that, look, your total has been updated. Here's your payment history. Everything's there. It's clear as day. You could look at it, and it's just clear. You owe us this money. Here are the loads. We have the Raycon. We have the BOLs. We have the invoices because we created them. We submitted everything. We have all the emails. We have a written agreement signed by the carrier that we're running this. We have a power of attorney in place. I mean, like, everything's in place. And he chose not to do that. Then he brings the trailer back because he's done with it. And we realize that this trailer's got square tires on the rear, square. And what had actually ended up happening was this. He dragged the trailer the tires had seized up. Now before giving him the trailer, we actually repaired everything. We spent thousands of dollars and brought it back into full like 100% back normal shape. Everything. It was an older trailer, but very, very low hours on a reefer unit and not used very much. Rebuilt everything and got him with brand new tires. Everything. He brought him back with square tires. Like, well, what the hell happened? Well, apparently the wheels wouldn't spin. So he dragged the trailer from Texas to Salt Lake City, Utah. Dragged it. Eventually, they rubbed a hole in it and blew up. So he ended up having to get some other tires. So he put a bunch of crap recaps on the trailer, brought the trailer, dumped it, and ran away. And when we put him on the spot, I said, man, what do you mean? Like, how can you drag a trailer for thousands of miles from Texas to Salt Lake and not realize that? You must have had smoke in the back. Somebody must have like flashed their lights at you, something. He goes, well, I'm not a mechanic. That was it. I'm not a mechanic. Okay? I mean, I guess when my teeth hurt, I'm not a dentist. So that's what happened. So he put on those tires. Obviously, those got all squared up too. Bone dry trailer, reefer motor, oldest money, all the stuff. I kept trying to argue with him about the money. Can a regular truck with a lift axle be carrying anything from a quarry or mine? I don't know. Adam, I honestly, I don't know. That's a bit differently, because out of a quarry or a mine, you're actually off-road. So you pretty much can do whatever you want over there, because standard FMCSA regulations don't really, don't go there until you actually hit the highway or a regulated road. So I honestly wouldn't know. And I don't really know anything about lift axles anyway. Yeah, man. So it was a crazy story. That's what happened. So I actually hired a company, because what had happened, he just started saying all these bad things, and then he started coming back and saying things like about nationality, and suddenly I became a bad person. I'm sitting there thinking, how am I a bad person? I just helped you do all these things. Then he said, well, you didn't do any of those things. And I said, well, what about this? These documents, agreements? Like, I already paid you for all that. So, well, no, you don't. You have these invoices that are outstanding. No, I already paid you that. And then he left us, dumped us, blah, blah, blah. Couldn't get anywhere. Thousands of dollars out, like thousands of dollars. We have a broken trailer, and all the things that we had repaired, he destroyed on that trailer. The inside of the trailer, the tires are bad, everything just destroyed. So I said, okay, this is bad. Then more phone calls, things got worse. Things got really agitated, and then he started just doing personal jabs and all this other stuff. And I tried to communicate, and I tried to still work with them. It wouldn't work, so I hired a company. They went into collections. They couldn't collect. In the process, they found that he had actually done the same exact thing to either 12, or we were either the 12th or the 13th company that was hurt by this. And this was found in the discovery stages of the lawsuit. And then the company said, look, we're not going to be able to do anything. We're going to have to start a lawsuit. So we started that lawsuit. It was right in the middle of COVID. All the courts were closed, shut down, operating over video and all this other stuff. It was insane. And it took over 2 years to collect. And I had already pre-negotiated with the law firm with a lower rate. They wanted a 33 and a third. I got them down to 25%, which was substantial. And then we had negotiated, to 20% from 33. They ended up charging me still 25%, and they called it a good deal. That they helped me out. But at the end of the day, it took 2 years. Nothing worked out. I didn't get to collect any of the interest on the payments. I didn't get to collect any of the fees or anything else like that was put on the place. And then that person, we had to actually do the lawsuit in the state of Washington, where they're from, even though our agreement says that we have to, do the lawsuits in the state of Utah in Salt Lake County. That didn't flow because Washington has different rules. So we had to do the lawsuit in Washington, which dragged out. And then eventually that person went to the judge and started to basically cry to them, saying that I'm the wrong person. They're being wronged, even though there's paperwork, agreements, signed everything. And the judge actually reduced the judgment and removed all the interest payments and all the other stuff that the law firm had actually told me to go this route, because you'll get more out of it because of how long this is dragged on, and there's a lot of interest and fees that can be attributed to it. So long story short, I don't mean to make this too long. At the end of the day, guys, we did get paid. It took 2 years or so. It was, I appreciate that. Found it helpful. Okay, lift axles and steering axles are normal in trucking. They help with navigating tight turning spots in yards. No, I know what you're talking about as far as that. I was thinking like in terms of like dump trucks and stuff like that, with lift axles on that end for like additional additional wheels, tires, things like that. So that's I'm just not super familiar with that kind of stuff. But I'm going to be actually looking more into some more flatbed work for my brother and flatbeds and step decks for local freight, for some of the stuff that we were talking about with UDOT, Utah Department of Transportation. They have websites, and for you guys as well, every single state has these websites that have state-funded programs and government contracts that have been either awarded, that are still pending, that have that will be in the future, and you can get in there and find some local work for yourself, high-paying freight directly with either a shipper or through a carrier, or sometimes maybe through a broker, but always pays better than going on the spot market and trying to negotiate with a guy at TQL. So there's that. So I didn't mean to go on a tangent, but as you can see, it definitely gets me hot on the collar, if you will, talking about these things, because you will get burnt. The longer you're in this business, you'll help people out, they'll just step on you. You'll do things, you'll go out of your way. We just had a customer. When was this? 3 days ago, I talked to him. He came on a load that we booked him, and they said, "Oh yeah, your load's not available." Then turned out to be that there was another guy at the door that was also picking up the same load. Now, luckily, our customer ended up getting priority, and he got the load and he got out of there, got loaded out of there. But think about the other guy. I mean, I guess in one way I could say I could care less about that other guy. He's not my customer. He's not bringing any money for me. But at the end of the day, man, that guy went out there, started his truck, cost money, all the operating costs, deadheaded, or drove to the pickup with the understanding that he's going to pick up this load at this rate, and this is where it's picking up, and that's where it's going. There's my week. And then you can just show up there. And yeah, I'm glad our customer got the load and he got out of there, and he's going to have a good week. But the problem is that the other person got burnt. Why should that even be happening? Why should that even be happening? So, guys, definitely appreciate you guys. You just absolutely wonderful. Please, one last time, hit the like button. We hit almost a 2-hour mark here on the video. It sounds like this was a good one for you guys. I do apologize for being a bit late. Not a lot of stories, but I think Alex had a lot of good things to talk about in today's video, and it just so happened to have matched up with the story that I was telling you guys about. But just be aware, those B1 visas, the cabotage, it's a real issue. Be aware, carrier sure, and being F-rated with them, it's a big issue. Being burnt on carrier 411, which you can't contact if you're a carrier, being blocked by them, that's a real issue. The IRS has hired a lot of new agents. They're going to be going through all this stuff with your taxes and everyone else's. If you forgot to pay taxes on that lemonade stand that your kid put up last summer, you may be, liable to pay some taxes on that. But, companies outside of that can operate from 2011 to 2018, owe $3.5 million worth of gross income that's unreported, owe $1.2 million in taxes, and only then do the powers that be wake up to this ridiculous situation. So, be aware, keep your nose clean, and, hopefully next week things start looking up. We did have some really good customers last week that made a lot of good money. That was the case. I was very surprised with the way that the freight was going, but just know that the guys are turning themselves inside out trying to get those rates for you guys. So definitely appreciate it. Gregory said, yes, sir. Like they say, what don't come out in the wash comes out in the rinse. Yeah, haven't heard that in a while. You're absolutely right. And thank you very much, Lord Kevin. Much appreciated. Enjoy your Sunday night as well. Thank you guys again. One last time, if you hit the like button, if you haven't done so, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bells. We're going to be doing a ton more really fun shorts with Alex. We're just finding kind of our groove. And we're going to be doing a lot more videos, helpful stuff. And guys, please, like one of the things that I run into, and just genuinely asking you guys for your help and assistance in this, we've been talking about our customers needing more information, videos that are helpful and useful. And I don't want to blabber to end of time, but if you guys have questions, if you guys have things that aren't clearly clear, like today, wonderful stuff today in the comments, and I'm going to do some research and we're going to get to the bottom of some of these things that I didn't know about. But if you guys have other operational issues that you guys run into, any kind of questions, comments, stuff that you think maybe I could do this differently or better, I might have a response for you guys, because I promise you, I paid a lot in stupid tax. And stupid tax is that tax you pay for the stupid mistakes that you make that sometimes people try to prevent you from doing it. But, I paid a lot in stupid tax, and believe me, I'm willing and very open to sharing whatever I can to be able to help you guys out. But sometimes I'm at the end of my rope and don't know what kind of topics you guys would really react to or benefit from. So I would love to cover those for you guys. And I'm willing to make videos all day long with minimal editing. And as long as the information we're going to provide to you guys is going to be super helpful. So So if you guys get a chance, just text us or call us or send me an email, Vitaly at aftdispatch.com, or Alex, or you can go to our contact form on our website at aftdispatch.com. And then as a quick little outro before I take off, do a little plug for our service. Guys, right here, aftdispatch.com. You just click either dispatch service if you have your own MC authority, or you click on lease owner operator if you're a leased out owner operator as your own truck, or maybe truck and trailer, but no MC authority. So we do those two things. Lots of good info on our blogs. All our videos are posted on our website. Here's the video that we were looking at, that we're watching today, and all the previous ones are all listed here, including all the shorts. A ton of stuff on the blog, although I have fallen back. The last thing I made was here, but there's a ton of really useful stuff, especially if you go further and further back. We have posts on IFTA, understanding that, how to find dispatchers, how to find better loads. I even gave you guys an article that I wrote that's very, very long and very detailed about the different ways that you can book your own freight. If you don't want to work with a dispatch company, if you don't want to pay us, you can do it yourself. Now, you may come to a point where you hit a wall where it's like, okay, I figured all this stuff, I'm just not cutting it. I'm just not, this isn't my cup of tea. Okay, cool. Come over. Let's give it a shot. Let's see if we can do better here, or go to another company. That's fine. But all the information is available. Our videos are here. Lots of useful stuff. And I know that I haven't responded to a lot of you guys' comments over the last several weeks. I'm really working on that. I'm slowly piecing away and getting the stuff together. But in the end, guys, I really want to say thank you super very much. I'm going to take off, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend, your Sunday. Happy Mother's Day, everyone. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.